My name is Alan Reese. I have Harold Bluestein on the other end of this. And Harold was the recipient of the Section Professional Development Award. Not the first time for Harold. He's won that award a bunch of times. And we're going to have a little chat today. Harold, thanks for jumping on today.
Certainly.
So, Harold, the Professional Development Award typically goes to the individual that values the importance of education, both as a teacher to others and as a student themselves. In your career, why has education been so important to you?
Well, I guess it starts out by the fact that I paid my own way through college, so I value my education. I was the first of 5 to graduate from college, so it was important to me to complete that project. But I've always been about self-improvement, whether it's personal or career-oriented. I just want to be a better person. I want to be a better professional. But I can tell you at first, when I first got into the business, it was really about trying to separate myself. Education and learning the business I wanted to separate myself in a competitive market. There were a lot of golf pros out there, and I understood that the knowledge I gained from my education, regardless of its source, was going to help advance me in my career. It's important for me not only to learn, but also to pass that information on to other professionals, because I found, and I'm sure you have, when you give a golf lesson, oftentimes we learn more from the student than we taught them.
Touch on your career and your philosophy, if it's changed, or maybe what your older self would tell your younger self.
Well, I would definitely say my perspective on our industry and on our business has changed significantly. And a very specific experience that I had was that I found my niche in teaching, being on the range and interacting with people. I found it very difficult to stand behind the counter for 8 hours and do that job, as many of us do. And I proposed back in 1999, and between 99 and 2005, to 2 employers that we needed to create a position that I was willing to accept and to grow. And that was the position of director of instruction or a player development professional. And that idea was just thrown out, rejected. And it wasn't until 2009 that I found an employer that appreciated the importance of that and knew that not only my expertise, but many professionals' expertise is in the teaching, in the playing, and the promoting, which was what we thought and what I thought the PGA professional was supposed to be doing all that time. As opposed to counting beans and becoming an accountant, we were supposed to be teaching, playing, and promoting. And so I wanted a position that would foster that. And like I said, it wasn't until 2009 that I found an employer that supported that idea. And now it's very common.
So when we circle back to the idea of education, sometimes we have to create initiatives, and you've created a number of them. I can think of a handful just by knowing you. But what is the initiative that you've done or you've spearheaded in your career that you're most proud of?
Well, Alan, we've known one another for a while, and you know me to be a rather confident professional, but also extremely humble, right? So I have put together...
You're that weird blend.
Yeah, I have, and also I have a little sense of humor, but I put together a collection of my contributions. And, let me get this up here. This is my contributions to the PGA and also to mankind in general this is kind of something I've put together over the years, all of which is very true and accurate. So I've compiled these. I'm going to go to P in this book, which would be PGA, and bring up one particular experience that I had that I think may have been my biggest contribution to the PGA, and that was in 2012. I invited industry stakeholders. That included the OGA, Golf in Schools, David Jacobson with the Youth on Course, and a number of other golf course owners together. There were about 24 of us, and we met at the OGA Club. It was very effective, and there's a number of things that came out of it. The very first was this became a template for our player development committees. That was number one. Mm-hmm. So our current committee is made up, Tom runs it, does a great job, but it's based on the idea that we gain information from a lot of different sources. The second thing that came out of it was the Golf Alliance of Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't exist at that time. And so Barb Trammell, myself, and several other owners got together, and we said we need the Golf Alliance created. That was the second. Our great support for Youth on Course and the Youth Summits came out of this meeting, that we need to get together more often and talk about our issues. Oddly enough, the club swap came out of this idea of let's do something for the kids. You know, one of the issues they have is that they don't have equipment. So, you know, and it was John Grothe who came up with, and Barb came up with the idea of we need to create an opportunity for kids to get equipment. The Pro Junior, the Oregon Pro Junior had been previously put on the back burner, and we decided as a board of directors to bring that back. And then I think the greatest thing that came out of that conference was the grant program.
So last question, I mean, I went through the firing squad here, but what advice would you give to your fellow professionals in regards to continued education and the importance?
But what advice would I give other professionals? And that is, first, take a look at where your career is now. And is it what you envisioned 5 or 10 years ago? If it's not, you can't rewrite the past, but how can you go forward and change it and reach your goals and your potential? And continuing education is one way to do it. It's one form. The certifications, online certifications, is another. Any way to make yourself a better professional. And like I said in your very first question, that's one way to separate yourself in a competitive market. And the other is that you feel pretty darn good when you've accomplished something. Mm-hmm. So if you look back and you're a little bit disappointed, it's really up to you to change that, but you certainly can.
You know, thanks for being a great example in not just education, but just as being a professional.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. It's an honor for me to be recognized by my peers. We always like a little pat on the back.
Sure.
Not always necessary, but it really is nice to get. Thanks.
Absolutely.